everybody. Welcome to Scott Fox After 9. Today is Friday, and it is a listener DMs episode. But before I get to that, we've got some big stuff happening right now. I'm hearing from you. I've seen my DMs blow up over the last 24 hours. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of people that are concerned, and I recognize that fully. This is what first got everybody very, very concerned. Listen to this.
As you mentioned, mine is the first visit of a Canadian Prime Minister to China in nearly a decade. The world has changed much since that last visit. And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
What does that mean? And why did he say it like that? What is this new world order that Mark Carney is talking about? Because that's something that conspiracy theorists have been warning about for a very, very long time now, friends. What is this new world order? I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff that has happened in the last 24 hours on this visit from Prime Minister Carney over to China. I fully acknowledge that there are people who are scared, flat out scared right now. What does that mean? Is he aligning us with China? Is that what's going on here? Are we going to be giving up any of our sovereignty to China? Well, listen to this from a press conference this morning over in China.
The fourth pillar of our new strategic partnership is public safety and security. And this is an area where pragmatic and constructive engagement with China is crucial. Through this pillar, our law enforcement agencies will increase cooperation to better combat narcotics trafficking, transnational crime, cybercrime, synthetic drugs, and money laundering. And we will create safer communities for people in both our countries.
Prime Minister Carney announcing that our police are about to start working with the Chinese police. But of course, we already know that the Chinese have police in Canada. Their secret police forces have been operating here for a while now. What the hell is going on? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay true to what I do here on Scott Fox After 9. I'm going to try and look at things through an objective and fair lens and try and give you all angles on this. But I'm not going to do it today. This is still new and there's a lot of stuff happening. Prime Minister Carney said he's going to allow Chinese electric vehicles, which at one point, our government and the U.S. government had flagged as basically mobile surveillance. They're spying on people is the concern. They're coming into our market, and Doug Ford and many, many others have pointed out that if you let those Chinese EVs into Canada, that is going to have a massive, massive implication for our auto market. Is this what you signed on for when you voted for Mark Carney? You just wanted somebody to stand up to Donald Trump, right? Did you want us to have our police forces sharing intelligence with the Chinese? The biggest security threat to our country. That came right from Mark Carney less than a year ago. Now our police forces are going to cooperate. We're going to allow Chinese EVs into the market. Let me get my thoughts together on this, okay? There's so much going on right now. This new world order comment had a ripple effect around the world almost instantly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my regular Friday DMs. This weekend, I will put together a special edition of Scott Fox After 9, and I'm going to explain and clarify as much as I possibly can. I don't know when it's going to drop because I'm waiting for a few things too. The Prime Minister's news conference is happening now as I record, and a lot's going to come out of that. I'm also waiting for a response from Ontario Premier Doug Ford. I'm waiting to find out what Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe thinks. He was sitting right beside the Prime Minister when he said New World Order, and Scott Moe sat up and looked over at the Prime Minister like, what the are you talking about? What New World Order? We didn't talk about that. We were just supposed to get rid of the canola tariffs. Something big is going on here, friends. Something big is going on. The next episode that drops of Scott Fox After 9, don't sleep on that one. You got to play it right away. I will get it out to you at some point this weekend. It's likely going to be Sunday, but I want you to enjoy your weekend. Bills are playing this weekend in the playoffs. They're taking on the Broncos. Go Bills. We've got Leafs, Raptors, all sorts of stuff going on. Jets are playing the Leafs on Saturday. There's a good one for you. I'll tell you what, I need some time to get this together, and you need a weekend to process some of what's happened in the last 24 hours. Let me get my thoughts together, too. I'll give you everything you're looking for in the next episode of Scott Fox After 9. Don't miss it. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so that you get a notification when that episode drops. Maybe that's going to be your drive into work on Monday, listening to that one. It's going to be good. I'm going to aggregate all of the audio that you need to hear from this trip to China, the response from our premiers, and the response from the White House, because I'm fully expecting one is coming. There's already talk that the Americans are now already preparing to kick Canada out of the Five Eyes surveillance unit. Can't have China having access to the Five Eyes. And if we're going to be allowing our police forces to share information with the Chinese police forces, well, they're not going to allow us to stay in the Five Eyes. I highly doubt it. So much is going to happen in the next little while. I will have it covered right here on the pod. Now, a bit of a somber tone to start things off, but frankly, that's reflective of how a lot of people are feeling. Very, very uneasy right now. But again, I want you to enjoy your weekend. We'll take this up more in the next episode of After 9, and that'll be out in time for you to listen to on Monday, and then there will be a regular Monday episode as well. But let's get to the DMs. I'm going to bring in the great Anna Almeida to read them. How you doing, Anna?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. How you feeling?
Wow. I'm feeling a whole bunch of emotions. Go Bills go, and looking forward to that podcast and learning more about this new world order that's actually mentioned in one of your DMs for today.
The new world order?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, my DMs blew up. I got like 100 of them in 30 minutes.
Oh.
So quickly, because people heard that and they instinctively thought, well, wait, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And if you just want reliable, unbiased information, I mean, the best I can, I do have a bias. I'm a conservative. The best I can, though, I'm going to explain to people what that means. This was a conspiracy theory for a long time. And people who don't like conspiracy theories, I understand that. I get it. It goes against what you've been told on the news and things like that. You're programmed not to trust, quote unquote, conspiracy theories, but it's coming true. The New World Order. And when the New World Order happens, the Americans are going to be on one side, and now we're going to be on the Chinese's side. That's what happened yesterday.
It's just scary. Oh, my gosh.
But that's the thing. It is scary. And I'm glad you can acknowledge that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are further down in learning what the New World Order is that are petrified right now. There's people who are probably... I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
I'm going to leave it at that. You know what? I don't want to end the week on a down note here, even though this is extremely concerning. I'll cover it in the next episode, and I'm going to do that one from home. I'm going to do it from my home studio where I've got no distractions, and I can just play you the audio and talk about what it means and try and give people an unbiased view of what it is. Again, I do have a bias. I always declare that when I can, and I think that that's the fair thing to do. Can I play something else for you before we get to the DMs?
Yes, please.
Just talking about bias. Every member of the media has one. Every one of us does. Now, I'm conservative and I'm in the minority. There's not a lot of open conservatives in the mainstream media. Almost all of them are liberals. So when people watch the news, they only get the point of view of someone who has the ideology of the left. So what I want to do here is I want to play for you a reporter yesterday at the White House who obviously had a bias that he did not declare. And Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, called him out for his bias.
Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally, and earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 U.S. citizens were detained by ICE, and Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist. And it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake, like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. but you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Lake and Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens in this country. And the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer. And shame on people like you in the media who have a crooked view and have a biased view and pretend like you're a real honest journalist.
I never want to be called out like that, so I always declare my bias, and my bias is I am a conservative, everyone, but I always try to be fair, and to tell you the truth, I come at everything from the lens of the middle class. It doesn't really matter to me if it's a liberal idea or a conservative idea. I just like things that advance the cause of the middle class. People who are doing everything right and just struggling to get by, watching our leaders who get paid exceptionally well mismanage our country, tax us to death. And now what Carney is doing, I think is... We'll take it up in the next episode. Okay. But, Anna, how great was that from Carolyn Levitt? Call it out. That's obviously a biased reporter. No, he never did even consider the angle of, well, wait a second. Before we talk about that woman that ICE shot, how many of these illegal aliens have killed Americans? It's in the thousands. Thousands. Shouldn't that be part of a balanced story? If you're going to talk about the lady who was obstructing ICE and got shot when she was doing it, shouldn't you at least talk about why ICE is doing what they're doing? That, to me, would be a reasonable, fair thing to include in the story. They don't include stuff like that because they have a bias and they don't declare it, and that's wrong.
And they don't preview questions before they enter those rooms, do they? No,
you're allowed in the press briefing room to ask whatever question you'd like.
Okay, that's interesting. Nothing's okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought for sure somebody would have scanned or had an idea. Well, they'll never be back in that room ever again.
the free press, though, shouldn't have to. We want a free press. But the thing is, we also want a fair press. We want people who are just trying to get to the facts. And these people aren't interested in the facts. They're interested in an agenda. And okay, if that's the way you want to be a reporter, fine, but declare your bias. He's obviously got an opinion on this story. He's going to write it from his lens, and he's not going to include all the facts that are relevant. And he tried to do a gotcha question on the woman who's probably best at defending herself against those, Carolyn Levitt. Brilliant woman. You don't have to like her, but she's incredibly smart and good on her feet. I think she's doing a fabulous job at the job she was assigned to do as press secretary. But anyway, I know not everybody's going to agree with me on that, and that's totally fine. We're allowed to disagree, friends. Let's get into some of the listener DMs.
It kind of serves to what you're talking about. His name is Jordan. He writes, "Hey, Scott, question for Friday. Over the past few months, I've intentionally stepped back, less news, less media, especially over the holidays. But when I re-engaged, it felt like everything shifted almost overnight. The tone feels more hostile, more fractured, like everyone's at each other's throats with no clear direction. I'm struggling with the balance here. Is there real power in intentionally tuning out to protect your mental health while big global events are unfolding? Or does stepping back risk leaving us uninformed and disconnected from the bigger picture? How do you find that balance?"
That's a great question. Was that Jordan?
Yeah, Jordan.
Jordan, thank you, and good for you. I actually encourage people, and this might be a little counterintuitive for a podcast host, but I encourage people over the holidays, don't listen. Disconnect. You can't let the news cycle be all-consuming. And right now, with 24/7 news, it can be all-consuming, especially when there's so many different stories that are happening right now, all kinds of different storylines. Now, he's asking, do I have to stay engaged in order to understand what's going on, or is it just better to disconnect and protect your mental health? I think that depends on what your stomach is for it. Me, I disconnect for like a weekend, and that might be what I do for a little bit after I finish this pod before I record that extra pod this weekend about the New World Order and about the Prime Minister's trip to the World Economic Forum and things like that. Take breaks. Absolutely. You have to. Keep track of what's important to you. And I assume what's important to you is family, friends, your job, paying your bills, and whatever else is important to you. But those are the things that, for the most part, are important to us. But I do think you need to track what's going on, particularly because now everything changed yesterday. I don't know if people fully understand what it means when Mark Carney committed us and China to the New World Order. They don't understand. And I'm going to try and break it down in very plain and simple terms. Can I play another piece of audio for you?
Yeah.
I want to take you back. This is, oh boy, we got to be going back at least 10 years on this. Do you know what Chrystia Freeland did before she ran for office here in Canada?
I don't actually.
She was a journalist.
Oh, okay.
Financial journalist. And then somehow ended up, even though her credentials were writing for the Financial Times or something like that, somehow ended up as Canada's finance minister and deputy prime minister. Well, Chrystia Freeland is very, very connected with what most people would call the global elites. One of the most high-profile global elites is someone named George Soros. Everybody, I think, has heard the name George Soros. A globalist. He's extremely wealthy. When Chrystia Freeland was a journalist, Chrystia Freeland interviewed George Soros several times. But I want to play for you just about 40 seconds of an interview. Chrystia Freeland, who just left Canadian office a week ago. This is an interview she did with George Soros. Listen to this. It's about 45 seconds long.
What sort of a financial deal should Obama be seeking to strike when he travels to China next month?
No, I think this would be the time, because you really need to bring China into the creation of a new world order, financial world order. They are kind of reluctant members of the IMF. They play along, but they don't make much of a contribution because it's not their institution.
If you want to see that whole clip, listen to that bonus episode that I'm going to put out this weekend, or I did retweet it on X. That's George Soros talking about bringing China into the New World Order. Well, connect a few dots here. Chrystia Freeland, somehow, out of nowhere, ended up as Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. From financial reporter in LA to Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. And she's very, very close to George Soros. In fact, she was his biographer, just so you know. Now, what is the connection between Chrystia Freeland and China? Well, she's very well connected to Mark Carney. Mark Carney is the godfather of her kid. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Mark Carney is the godfather of Chrystia Freeland's kid. And what did Mark Carney just do? He ended up in China to bring them and Canada into the New World Order. Is it starting to add up now, folks? Are you getting it now? Are you starting to see where this has started? This has been in the works since Obama was in charge. These people didn't end up in power by accident. I'm going to tell you more this weekend. Either way, disconnect if you have to. I know what I just said was probably heavy. There's probably people right now that are like, what?
I know you're looking at my face because I'm like, oh.
But are you starting to make the connection here? None of this is a coincidence. None of it.
I've always been into conspiracy theories. And so,
but it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. Now it's, if you can't acknowledge that this is true, and I'm not speaking to you personally, Anna, I mean everybody. Like, it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. They've said the quiet part out loud. I've connected the dots for you. Freeland, Soros, Carney, China, New World Order, and where is Carney ending his trip this weekend? In Davos at the annual World Economic Forum. Oh, and who else is going? Justin Trudeau is one of the keynote speakers. This is crazy. It's actually happening, my friends. It's happening. What they've been warning you about and whispering about in dark circles, it's now happening. Don't miss that episode this weekend.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
On this very listened podcast, do you not get nervous then when you connect all these dots and speak so boldly that there's going to be repercussions against you?
Well, no, I'm sure there will be. These people don't screw around. They don't screw around. They have an agenda and they're going to implement it. They've fixed elections over this stuff. Democratic nations have had fixed elections over this stuff. This is what they want. This is what they're going to get. They want decisions being made by the World Health Organization, the International Monetary Fund, and the UN. They want a one world government. They're globalists. That's what globalist means. Look it up. Google George Soros. Don't take my word for it. And I'm not trying to lead anybody. I'm not going to give anybody the answer. How about that? I'm not going to give you the answer because that would be very biased of me. But I'm going to put everything in front of you and let you connect the dots. Everything I just told you is worth a search. Look into it, everybody. Look into it. And don't miss that episode on the weekend.
Okay, and speaking of that, Felice says, New World Order. Watch the look on Jolie and Ahmad's face. They're thinking, what the heck? Their souls just left their bodies. There has to be a breaking point. I hope the Liberals revolt on him and the Canadian vote him out and the party out as well to a non-status.
I don't think that Anita Anand and Melanie Jolie have any problem at all with what Mark Carney said. They're very much in lockstep with the Prime Minister on this one. Anyone in cabinet would agree with the Prime Minister's agenda. Now, backbench Liberals, I just said this yesterday. There's some good, decent, honest, hardworking, respectable people in the Liberal government. There are some, but they're not the ones making the decisions. They're just taking a check and nodding along and going along with Carney. Well, this would be a good opportunity for you guys to speak up. Are you Canadian or are you globalists? Do you believe in Canada or do you not? Are you willing to give up our sovereignty to China? Are you willing to allow China to share information with our police forces? Security agreement with China? Is that what you guys wanted? I mean, I know you wanted to get elected. I know you like being in power, but is this what you signed up for? It's not too late to cross the floor. You go over to the opposition side and you oppose this. You all should. I encourage every Liberal member of Parliament that's not in on this grift, cross the floor, join the Conservatives, and let's fight for Canada, not for China. How about that?
Okay, switching up now. So this one is from Anonymous. Hey, Scott, I heard your segment on healthcare. Many hospitals are on a hiring freeze, leaving new grad nurses frustrated. They've been applying for months without interviews. Check out the Ontario Nurses subreddit to see their frustrations. We also pay high yearly fees just to keep our license. $415 this year, up from $196 when I started 17 years ago. The College of Nurses is supposed to protect the public, not us. Yet they have a fancy office in Toronto. Many U.S. states charge much less for renewal. Confidentially, in a meeting with our union rep, she mentioned government funding reached our company. And instead of raises for nurses, it's likely going to management.
It always does. Listen, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but I'll just say it again. We will not get a better healthcare system until we get the government out of the healthcare system and privatize it. And when I say privatize, it's very simple what I mean. The government will still pay for it. It's just the government will not operate it. And companies, for-profit companies, will run the hospitals. And they'll do that because it's a profitable thing for them to do. But when you get private companies, these are businesses, competing with each other to get our business, you watch how much better things get instantly. You know, they tell us all the time. We hear it on the news. We see the stats. Our healthcare system's in shambles. We don't have enough doctors and nurses. Well, clearly there's a lot of nurses who are looking for a job and can't get one. And the hospitals would say, we don't have enough money. Because they're paying it to themselves and their executives. They're paying it out in bonuses. They're wasting it. We don't need these bureaucrats running hospitals anymore. We need people that know about healthcare running hospitals. It's crazy what's going on here. We should have so much money for healthcare going to frontline healthcare workers, going to hospitals, going to buy new equipment. The fact that hospitals have to fundraise to buy new equipment is shocking with the amount of money that we pour into this system. And we're getting such poor results. It's mismanagement, and the people who are on top running the hospitals, the administrators, they're doing a terrible job. And they're the highest paid ones there. They make 10 times more than the doctors and nurses do. We need to change the system here, friends. I'm hoping that we eventually get a provincial government that has got the wherewithal, because there's people who have been told all their lives, we have to protect our universal healthcare system. And they don't understand that we can still have a universal healthcare system. It'll still be paid for by the government. Nothing will change on our end, except we'll get better service. It's all in how it's run and administered. That's where all the money is being wasted, and why people are dying and can't get the care they need, and why nurses can't even get an interview for a job at a hospital. How bananas is that?
And we're short-staffed. We need them.
We need them. So listen, something's going to have to change, but there's got to be a will for it. Whatever provincial government decides, finally, we need to do this, and we're going to do it. Good on you, because you're going to face a ton of backlash, but it needs to be done. And I don't care, by the way, if it's the next Liberal government. Eventually, we'll have a Liberal government in Ontario again. Probably never have an NDP government, but eventually we'll have a Liberal government. If they do it, I'll congratulate them. If the Conservatives do it before that, I'll congratulate them. It doesn't matter to me who does it. It just needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. Well, Crystal writes, OMG. The episode of asking if men can get pregnant, I'm literally yelling on this side. I worked in medical for almost a decade and I want to slap this woman. Seriously, so annoyed. Men don't have ovaries and a uterus. They cannot get pregnant. Just slapping on some boobs and cutting your privates off does not make you a woman.
Would you agree with that as a woman?
Yeah, men can't get pregnant.
Wait, are you sick?
No, I don't know if I caught a fly in my throat there. Excuse me.
Okay.
But no, men can't get pregnant. That's just the bottom line.
Did you hear the audio that she was talking about?
Yes, I saw that. And just she couldn't give a straight answer.
She couldn't give a straight answer. Well, she couldn't give any answer at all.
Yeah.
Just for anybody who didn't hear yesterday's podcast, congressional hearings in America, Senator Josh Hawley questioning a doctor who is on the left, a doctor who has left-wing ideology. Please listen to this very carefully. I'll play just a minute of it.
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question.
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics.
Absolutely.
So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
can men get pregnant?
There are many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
can men get pregnant?
Again, as I'm saying,
let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So, can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
no, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you. You know, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert. And you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get it.
That's all we need to hear, right? That went on for 5 minutes. That was a Democrat. Democrats in America are liberals in Canada. That was a Democrat doctor who simply would not say that men can't get pregnant. We all understand it. And Anna, maybe you feel differently. I'm glad that you're here because you can bring a female perspective to this. I think it's incredibly disrespectful to women that doctor has taken that position. Women can get pregnant. Men cannot get pregnant. See, I can say it. Men can't get pregnant. We rely on women. We count on women to get pregnant and have the future of the world. I think it's incredibly disrespectful to have that point of view that men can get pregnant. It's got to be insulting on some level.
Well, it is a yes or no. Obviously, we've known this since the beginning of time that women are the ones that carry and bring life into this world. And I'm sorry, men cannot biologically. And even if you then transition from female to male and you keep your parts in hopes of potentially carrying life, that's still different. Again, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, men cannot get pregnant, and that's just what it is. Yes, some women can't conceive and can't, but they were born with a uterus and ovaries and the potential of being able to carry life into this world.
Is it insulting?
I don't find it insulting. I found it annoying because it's just like, I don't think any less of you if you say, doctor, that men can't get pregnant. It's the truth.
It's not the truth that men can have babies. It's not true. It's just not reality. No. That's a doctor who's probably during COVID, trust me, trust the science. I'm a doctor. You can listen to me. Believe what I say. Do what I tell you to do. Who honestly thinks men can get pregnant. I think that brings incredible... it's insulting to real doctors who are practicing real medicine with real people, and it's insulting to women who do have babies, and we celebrate them for that. We need them for that. We love them for that. That's something unique to women. And to trivialize that is disgusting. That doctor should lose her license.
So I just think you can still support the transgender community. And
this isn't about transgender.
No, but what I'm saying is she can still support all the different communities she wants, but facts are facts. Science proves it. And when you're a doctor, you're going science-based. You're looking into all of it. And you know that men cannot have kids. And that's what it is. It doesn't make you any less than someone who supports a different community. But that is the fact. Women have children and men do not.
Great. Next DM.
All right. It has to do with that, too, actually. Ulysses says, so hard to hear the latest pod and the portion about the doctor who wouldn't say men can't get pregnant. I'm 35 years old, raising a family here in Ontario with a second kid on the way. And other than our economy, this is the kind of stuff I'm worried about. We need to get back to basics.
Yes.
Thanks again for the work you do. Crazy what's happening out there.
It is crazy what's happening out there. And congratulations to you. You're doing everything right. We want people to have babies. We need to get the birth rate up. We have to do that. Good. You're part of the solution there. But I understand the frustration. When you hear doctors doing nonsense like that, I just lose all faith. You know, I have just no respect at all for that ideology. I just don't, because it's not based in science. And you know, when you think about it, when COVID started, wasn't it the liberals that were on TV demanding, follow the science, follow the science? That's liberal science. Just so everybody knows, what you just heard is liberal science. That is a doctor, that is a scientist, someone on the left who refuses to acknowledge that men cannot get pregnant.
Yeah,
it's amazing we're even debating this in 2026.
Yeah, it's just mind-boggling. Anyhow, Andrew writes, hey, Scott, love your podcast about Doug Ford. He needs to stop using...
Oh, no. Here we go.
I waited for this, right?
Yeah.
He needs to stop using liquor stores as weapon and get booze back on the shelves. The boycott of American booze doesn't matter, and he should drop his fight against China EVs and focus on provincial issues. With Mark Carney going to China, maybe Canada could require EVs sold here to be partly made in Canada. Dropping the tariff could boost our economy, lower EV prices, and reopen canola exports. Just my 2 cents from a regular middle-class guy. Keep up the great work, Andrew.
And that's what happened, Andrew. They're going to drop the tariffs on canola, and we're going to allow Chinese EVs into the market. Now, I am all in favor of competition. I am all in favor of getting cheaper vehicles on the road because, frankly, the cost of new vehicles is very high, higher than it's ever been, and the cost of EVs is even worse. If we get an affordable alternative, that's great. But are these the EVs you want? You know, Doug Ford is opposed to these because he says it'll gut the auto manufacturing sector in Ontario. I don't know. I have no reason to think that he's wrong on that, so I'll assume that that is true. That's going to very much undermine the automakers. I thought, well, in some way, if we allow the Chinese EVs into the market, maybe that'll force the domestic automakers, the Fords, the GMs, the Stellantis, to lower their cost. I don't know that that's what's going to happen here. And I did not know when I said that about the concerns about surveillance and security driving these vehicles around. They're connected. They're online. What information are they sending back to China? And what is that used for? That's what I want to know. I do have some serious concerns. It's a pivot. I've changed my mind on this. And frankly, I think we were better off the way we were. Now, your question was about Doug Ford and dropping his opposition of American booze in the LCBO and Crown Royal in the LCBO. Doug Ford is... I wonder when Doug's going to realize what just happened. Because he got played. Doug Ford... I maintain this. I don't think that Mark Carney ever intended to do a deal with America. Mark Carney has always wanted the New World Order, and it's always involved Canada and China. That's what I think. That's what I believe. If Mark Carney really did go over to Doug Ford's house, we know he did, and that was when Doug showed him the anti-tariff ad, and Carney signed off on that ad knowing it was going to provoke Donald Trump, then he basically got out of this scot-free and left all of it on Doug Ford. He had Doug Ford talking about what a great job he was doing, and he had Doug do his dirty work. Make sure there's no deal with the Americans. Sink it. You go ahead and put that ad out, Doug. No problem, because it helped get him to where we are. Now he's got the deal with China, and we're still not even talking to the Americans. And now Donald Trump is saying stuff like, I don't even know if I want to renew CUSMA. The Canadians are being a real pain in the ass here. He wishes us well, but I don't know if he wants to do business with us. Now that we're in bed with China and our police forces are going to be sharing intelligence, good Lord, they might not even speak to us again. It's very, very concerning. You know, Doug with constantly propping up Mark Carney because he wants Pierre Poilievre's job. I think at some point, Doug's going to have to look in the mirror and say, do I care about Canada or do I care about being popular with Mark Carney and the inner circle of the Canadian cabinet? You can't have both. Doug, when are you going to pivot here? When are you going to realize what's going on here? New World Order? Our police cooperating with Chinese police? Well, we've got the Americans right down there saying, we just need a couple of things. Drop the digital services tax, get rid of supply management, let's have real free trade. And we said no to that so that we could do this over in China? It doesn't make any sense. And I think that Doug is probably going to come to this conclusion sooner or later. I just hope that it's sooner and not later. How much longer are we going to drag out this fight with the Americans? Now, we've got to, well, we don't have a choice. I don't know what Carney signed us on to. We know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know. And God only knows what he signed behind closed doors. God only knows what the discussion was with Xi Jinping. What did he commit us to? Can we get out of it? Can we go back now to the Americans and say, whoa, the Canadian people don't really want this Chinese thing. We'd really rather go back to the way it was and have a good relationship with our neighbor and closest ally, the Americans. Because right now, Carney's pushing us over to China. I'm shocked that they're going to make our police forces share intelligence with the Chinese. What the hell are we thinking here? It's insanity, Anna. I'll do it again in the episode this weekend. Okay. I'll break it all down. I guess I kind of shot myself in the foot here. I said I wanted this to be kind of a fun episode going into the weekend, and I know that it's not. It's a little somber, but this is serious, serious, serious stuff here, guys. Yeah. We are not messing around anymore. It is real now. Whatever it was that Carney did with China over there, and whatever he's going to do at the World Economic Forum next week, I'm very, very concerned about it. And I think the Americans are going to be outraged.
Well, that's actually a question from Trevor. Can you give us a quick Coles Notes on what the WEF, World Economic Forum, is and what is their objectives?
Oh, that's a good question. Trevor asked that one?
Yeah, Trevor.
Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know, it's funny, even mentioning the World Economic Forum 5 years ago was a conspiracy theory.
Oh.
It's amazing how many people, as soon as you brought up the World Economic Forum, finger in their ears, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. Those are conspiracy theories. Please acknowledge it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a real thing. It's on the Prime Minister's agenda for next week. Liberals have been going there for years. The World Economic Forum has a meeting every year in Davos, Switzerland. That's where they get together political leaders, academics, the university types, the profs, and a bunch of influential people. And they sit around and they talk about global trade and they talk about climate change and geopolitics and technology, social issues, very woke issues and things like that. They sit around and discuss these things, and it's meant to be like a think tank where we discuss ideas. But it's actually much more than that, because the World Economic Forum has an incredible amount of influence over the governments around the world. You heard the World Economic Forum's leader was Klaus Schwab. When Justin Trudeau was in power, Schwab openly bragged that he had infiltrated Trudeau's cabinet, that he had actual members of Trudeau's cabinet trying to implement World Economic Forum policies. The World Economic Forum is a bunch of unelected globalist elites that believe in a one world government. They believe in these woke social ideologies. They believe in a one world government where the World Health Organization, let's use that as an example. When we had COVID, we had Canada making decisions for Canadians. We had Ontario making decisions for Ontarians, Alberta making decisions for Albertans, and it was divided, right? The same restrictions in Ontario were not necessarily in place in Alberta, and so on and so forth. All of that is out the window. We've now signed on to the World Health Organization's pandemic treaty. The pandemic treaty means they call the shots. They'll decide what happens in Canada. We signed off on our sovereignty on that. Someone else is going to make decisions for Canadians. A global unelected body is going to decide when we go into lockdown. They're going to decide how many shots we need, all of these things. And that's just one example. There's many more. The International Monetary Fund. How much of your tax dollars do you want going to them? They believe in top-down governance. They believe in cultural and social ideologies, like you just heard the good doctor talking about earlier in this episode. All of that is extremely real, and people need to understand that. But here's the thing. You're not going to watch the National or the CTV National News. Omar and Adrian, they aren't going to come out there at 10 o'clock at night and tell Canadians, well, here's what the World Economic Forum believes in, and this is what Mark Carney wants for Canada. They're not telling that because they know Canadians will reject that in mass numbers. Canadians don't want to give up our sovereignty to the UN. Canadians don't want to give up their sovereignty to the World Health Organization or anybody like that. But that's what the WEF does. They come up with these policies, then they send their people back to their countries to implement the agenda. And that's exactly what's going on and what has been going on for at least 10 years, maybe longer. It's crazy, Anna.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
But
Thank you for breaking that down.
The World Economic Forum is one hell of a party. Man, if you are into green environmental ideology, you will have the time of your life over in Davos. The booze is flowing. There's more cocaine than there is snow on the ski hills. It is a party. And they come up with some really radical stuff that I don't think the average middle-class Canadian's interested in. I maintain the average middle-class Canadian wants some very basic things. They want a roof over their head that they can afford. They want food on the table. They want happy and healthy kids or families. They want to be able to take a vacation once a year. They want a nice car in the driveway, and they just want to live their life. They pay their taxes. They follow the law. They're good people at heart. They want to be free to practice whatever faith that they observe. And just really, at the end of the day, we have very minimal asks. The thing is, the people that are leading us are not interested in that. They don't care. They've got their own agenda, and it's a globalist, one world government agenda. Now, the New World Order, that's something completely, well, it's not completely different, but it's along the same vein. It's really just a redistribution of power. The Americans are absolutely a power. The Europeans are absolutely a power. The Chinese, absolutely a power. We aren't going to align ourselves with the Americans because they did such a good job at making Donald Trump the bad guy. They got so many boomers upset about Donald Trump that they're willing to just trust Carney and whatever Carney wants to do. Well, Carney has an agenda. How do you think, out of all of the bankers in England, they couldn't find one more qualified than Mark Carney to run the Bank of England? He wasn't even British. He was from Canada. Not one banker in the UK could run that. This is all part of putting their people in high places to implement their agenda. Everyone needs to understand that, guys. This isn't a conspiracy theory anymore. It's happening right in front of your face. Don't wait for the news to come out and explain it to you because they're not going to explain it to you, but it's real. It's happening.
Okay. Well, thank you for breaking that down. Moving on to a different question here. I see this every week. Temporary foreign workers come to Canada on employer-specific visas.
Just before you finish that, open borders, a massive priority of the World Economic Forum. They believe in open borders. They want people from all over the third world pouring into North America and into European countries. They like open borders. This is part of their agenda. That's why Biden did it. That's why Trudeau did it. That's what Pierre's trying to fix and what Trump did fix.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Finish that question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No. It provoked that thought. So it's good that you mentioned it.
Well, you brought it up and I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity to explain more about Trevor's question about who is the World Economic Forum and what is their agenda.
Perfect. And this one, there's no name. Anonymous. They say, yeah, I see this every week. Temporary foreign workers come to Canada on employer-specific visas. They let them expire, then claim refugee status. Bank waive fees for newcomers for a year, and people move from bank to avoid paying fees for years. When they get refugee status, the cycle starts again with a new permit. I see this almost daily. Something needs to change. I feel like my country is being taken advantage of.
We are being taken advantage of, guys. There's no other way to look at this. We're being taken advantage of. Our generosity has been exploited. You know, the Americans they had a different problem. They had a border that was basically open to the south, and people just poured over the border, and the Biden administration allowed them to do it. just allowed people to flood into the country unchecked. Now Trump has got to try and keep them out and get rid of the ones who got in. That's what he's doing down there. Now, we don't have an open southern border. The only way to get to Canada is to fly or to take a boat. So we flew them in. We're constantly bringing them, and we hide it under things like temporary foreign workers and things like that. Refugees. The vast majority of these people don't have a refugee claim. The vast majority of these people that are coming here claiming that they deserve to be here shouldn't be here. And under normal circumstances, they wouldn't be allowed here. But they're getting in, and they are getting so many perks. The amount of money we give them monthly. We were putting them up in nice hotels down in Niagara Falls and downtown Toronto, places that Canadians can't even afford to stay. We were doing all that. We're giving them access to our health care. We're giving them their child care. We're giving them their kids meals at school. We're doing all of these things, and it's not right. They didn't pay into the system, so they shouldn't get to use the system. And they also shouldn't even be here. We got to fix what's wrong with our immigration system. We've got to start telling people no. Forget this. We were compassionate. We always were. And that's something we can always be proud of as Canadians. We always accepted refugees. We always took care of them, and we gave them a hand up. But that's not what's happening now. This is basically an attack. It's a wave of people flooding into our country. It's meant to overwhelm the system because we can't deal with all of them at once. I've said it many times. We should have an adjudicator at the border, just standing there. You want to declare refugee status? Right now, they don't even talk to a person. They go up to a machine. Oh, yes. If they're a refugee, they just tap the right button, put in their contact info, and bam, they start getting government benefits. They don't even talk to a person. I think we should have a judge at Pearson and all of the major airports. And when an international flight comes in, if someone wants to say, I'm a refugee, you can go and talk to the judge right now. And that judge will make a decision on the spot. And if he says no, get right back on the plane and get out. No more of this, Anna. We were taken advantage of because we were such good people. We still are. Mm-hmm. We still are good people. At the end of the day, we're doing what we can to help. But a lot of these people don't need help. They want a hand out, not a hand up. And it's wrong. I mean, on every level, it's wrong.
Especially when we're all falling behind.
When all regular middle-class Canadians are falling behind. Record numbers of people at food banks.
Yeah, it's sad.
12-hour waits in emergency rooms. It's insanity. But our system got overwhelmed, and it was by design. They wanted it to happen this way.
Well, this next question is from Hugo. Hey, Scott, hope you're well. Politicians always talk about the auto sector, but what about construction workers, carpenters, cement finishers? They're home without work because of high interest rates. At my company alone, over 500 are affected. Seems like no one worries about us. Thanks for your podcast. Keep doing what you're doing. That's Hugo.
Thank you, Hugo. Yeah, I wasn't aware that there was that much of a problem in the construction industry, but there must be because now I'm hearing it from more people. Part of the problem is we're putting all these people into the skilled trades, right? Hey, go into the trades. There's going to be so many jobs for you. Well, a lot of construction isn't happening, again, because of the interest rates.
Yeah.
The Bank of Canada doesn't want to lower them. They hate the idea of it because they're making so much money. And at first, it was just about bankrupting the middle class. But now it's stopping houses from getting built, and it's stopping people from investing, and stopping people from doing a lot of different things. Like businesses now aren't doing them. So now people in the trades are suffering. Because we can't build homes because interest rates are too high. When are we going to fix this problem? Donald Trump is going to fire the head of the Fed, Jerome Powell. He is going to be gone soon. Whoever takes over is going to be someone handpicked by Trump. And their interest rates are probably going to drop 3 points overnight. They're going to go down to 1% interest on a mortgage. Why can't we have that in Canada? We certainly won't now. That's not part of the New World Order. But that's what Americans are going to get. No income tax and 1% interest rates on mortgages. It's about to get really, really great in America. You know, right before the U.S. midterms, they're coming up in the fall. Trump, you bet your butt. He's going to go all in on this and try and make Americans feel like they're making progress. So they are going to cut their income tax rates down to nothing, basically, because of tariffs. And yeah, they're going to get a 1% interest rate on mortgages and car loans. Their interest rates on credit cards just got capped at 10%. We're paying 30%. Like the grass is greener down there. There's no other way to look at it. We could have had that, but we walked away from it. It's insanity.
Well, we're going to finish on a really fun note.
Good. Love it.
Okay? And it's from Samuel. Finish the tell-all. Fantastic.
Yes.
What a story and what a way to wrap it all up. I have a feeling it will be your most listened to episode. Looking forward to what 2026 brings to the pod. Keep up the outstanding work. I recommend it to everyone. Samuel.
Thank you, Samuel. I appreciate that. Part of what I said I was going to do as a bit of an overhaul for the pod is I'm going to put out more episodes. And that's part of my plan with this episode that's coming out this weekend. Last weekend, it was the silent date tell-all. You heard it, obviously.
I loved it.
Did you?
I loved it. I loved getting to know him as a person, too. You have this perception from stories, what they're like, and then to hear their voice and give their side of the story. It was great. I recommended it. I shared it on my social media platforms. It was great.
What do you think of him, though? Do you get the impression he's a good guy and he's in a good spot?
Yes, I feel like he's a great guy, and also that he's not, he's a well-kept man in the sense he treats his lady right, but he's not using her. And I think that's really hard to find these days. And so he's enjoying the perks of it. But if the shoe was on the other foot, we wouldn't say boo. So I think this is great.
Yeah. All right, Anna, thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you.
Friends, keep an eye out for another episode this weekend. I will break down everything that happened in China over the past couple of days, this new deal that has been done with China. I'll talk about what the New World Order is and what it means. I'll talk about what's going to happen at the World Economic Forum. That is the Prime Minister's last stop on this trip. He's going to go to Qatar, do some Middle East stuff there, and then he's going up to Davos for the World Economic Forum. And there's big stuff happening now, guys. You got to check into this pod every day, I think, because I'll tell you the truth. And I'll admit my bias, but I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you what's going on. And I'm going to do that this weekend. Have a great one. In the meantime, go Bills, go. And I'll see you back here on the weekend. Oh, yeah.